Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 77 of Screw the Commute podcast. I got Dave OConnor here. Now this guy speaks all around the world and he has a treasure trove of online trainings. You'll hear about him in a minute. Hope you didn't miss episode 76 on chatbots. This was one of my Monday sessions where I do a more in-depth training. And chatbots are automated tools that help automate your sales and service for your customers and prospects. And my little chatbot guy is named Screwy in honor of Screw the Commute podcast. So don't miss episode 76. Go back and check it out if you missed it. All right. Our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. It's a distance learning school. But I want you to know, do you know what colleges and universities are doing? Well, according to gradeinflation.com, they're raising grade point averages to make it look like they're doing a better job of teaching when there's a mountain of evidence that says that they aren't. So I want you to watch the eye-opening higher education webinar at screwthecommute.com/webinars, or you can just go to screwthecommute.com and click on free webinars. And you'll potentially save yourself and possibly your loved ones, your friends and neighbors, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt when they go for higher education. But I got to tell you, be prepared to be mad when you see some of the things these colleges and universities are doing to our youth. All right, let's get to the main event. For over 20 years, Dave OConnor has been a leading success coach to entrepreneurs, speakers, salespeople, consultants, and mission-driven business owners. He's the co-founder of Mind Story Academy with his partner, Carla Rieger. Dave's live and online trainings are ideal for individuals and organizations that want to open minds, increase sales, and maximize impact. Dave, are you ready to screw the commute, that is? Or I know you're
Tom,
vacationing in
ready.
Ohio. Maybe you already finished that for today. I'm not sure. So, Dave, tell everybody what you've been doing lately.
Hey, Tom. So, hey, everyone. I am a speaker and a coach to entrepreneurs, as Tom said, speakers, sales teams, really teaching people how to keep their head in the game when the inevitable challenges, setbacks, and obstacles come up. And, most of my business is online, but I do a lot of speaking around the world, and I sell a lot of online products. So it's, in effect, it's a laptop lifestyle, which is awesome. That's what I designed for myself.
Yeah, well, every time we work together, you're in like some different country, Ireland, UK. I don't know where you're going to be. Now you're in, then you went all the way over to Hawaii. I think now, that's where I'm talking from, right?
Yeah. We're in Hawaii now for a couple of months for the winter because, hey, you know the way it is, too cold in Ireland or UK or too cold in Vancouver where we normally live as well.
Well, the thing is, though, are you sure you're just not getting evicted everywhere? So every time I talk to you, you're somewhere else?
Yes, that is a possibility. All right. Yeah.
All right. Now, did you ever have a job?
I did, unfortunately. And it was many years ago, and I worked in sales, selling health food supplements. And I sucked at it, by the way. I mean, when I first joined this company, they unanimously agreed, Tom, that I was the worst salesperson that they had ever met. In fact, I held a record for losing the most amount of money for this company for 2 years in a row.
Well, it's natural that you'd become a sales trainer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, isn't it the thing where we most suck at is what we really have to get good at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but after a couple of years, I really worked hard to turn that around. And
at the same company, or did they throw you out and you went somewhere else?
Same company. I created this outrageous goal for myself, Tom. I just said, you know what? I mean, I suck. It can't get much worse. So, I'm going to figure out how to outsell every sales person in this company added together.
Did you tell them that, or was this in your mind?
No, this was in my mind.
Because I was going to say they'd probably give you a lot of crap over that. You were the worst one.
Yeah. Which is why I kept that to myself.
Okay. All right. So you did it though, right?
I did it, and
How'd you do
a
it?
lot of hard work. Well, it was a combination of, a lot of the stuff that I now teach, which is using more of your mind to overcome the fears of selling. And, I sucked as a speaker, by the way. So again, I mean, that was something that I had to really get good at, and I failed forward there.
Hmm.
And I don't know if the audience can relate, Tom, but I mean, I can remember where I got that fear of public speaking. I'm a 7-year-old kid back in Ireland. I have my first big role in my Christmas pantomime,
Oh,
right? And
wow.
yeah. And I'm so excited. I'm practicing for weeks, and I have 2 words. That's all. All I have to do is run out onto the stage and say Larry O'Lee and Toodle O'Clay. Okay.
Well, I think
So the
I'd have
night
messed
comes.
those up myself.
Yeah. I mean, this is Irish.
Oh,
So
right.
yeah. So the big night comes, and I'm so excited, and I'm pumped because my folks are in the audience, and my crush, my Louise is there, and you know, time comes, and I'm feeling something I never felt before. I'm feeling this kind of knot in my stomach, and my mouth is going dry. I said, "What the hell is this?" So I run out on this stage, and I'm like a deer caught in the headlights.
Oh,
I
my God.
literally forgot my lines, and everybody is staring at me. I don't know if you've had that experience, but man, everyone laughed. I ran off the stage, my tail between my legs. And then from that moment on, Tom, in my mind, it was like speaking equals bad,
Right.
speaking equals would rather die,
Right.
So I had to literally work so hard to make a fool of myself over and over again, be prepared to fail. Every time I'd think of even asking a question in an audience, my heart would start to beat. I'd become that 7-year-old kid again. But hey, I overcame it with everything that I know now, with all the training that I learned, and how to overcome fear, how to overcome those limiting stories. And yeah, I ended up then being the best salesperson this company ever seen.
Well, some people never get over that. They have those traumatic experiences. I was even doing some research on this that even a invasive surgery as a child can cause stage fright. That's
Wow,
crazy,
right.
yeah. And other things are common, like your parents are telling you to sit down and shut up and wipe that stupid smile off your face, as if whatever you say is not important. So all those things can contribute. But were there any particular things you did to overcome that?
Yeah, I did as many personal development seminars and trainings as I possibly could do. I did some public speaking courses, and but it came to the point, Tom, where I had succeeded at the level that I wanted to in this company, and I couldn't go any further. I mean, my values, are that I've got to feel on purpose, which, I somewhat did for the time I was there. It's got to be fun, and I got to have that time freedom. But I found that even though I was successful, that I was working 7 days a week, and I was working pretty much all the time from early in the morning to late at night. And I didn't have a moment to myself. I don't know, did you ever, did you ever get like that? But I mean,
Well, yeah, I do that every day now. but uh, but
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 you love it, right?
yeah, I love it. But let me ask you: were any of the people there that remember when you were the worst?
Oh, yeah.
And then, well, how did they react as you started passing them up?
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, I was the running joke every week, right? I mean, they'd be literally, reading out the sales results at the end of every week, and it became the running joke. And in last place, we have, oh, guess who? Dave.
Oh, man.
So it was so awesome to see the looks on their
Right.
faces over and over again as my sales figures crept up, as I passed one person after another, and then as I outsold them all up together. I mean, there's nothing like it, right?
Oh,
To be
my
able to
goodness.
prove
Yeah.
them all wrong, and to be able to say, you know what, stick the 2 fingers up or whatever.
Well, that would be so much fun if that company had to hire you back now to teach them how to
Yeah,
sell.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like the late great Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah. So, so uh, what was the next step after that?
Well, like I said, I was working so freaking hard, and I had this Alfa Romeo Sprint back then, Tom. Now, I don't know if the audience knows what an Alfa Romeo Sprint is. It's an Italian car. I wanted the car from Starsky and Hutch, but the closest to my visualization was this Alfa Romeo Sprint. So it looked great on the outside, but unfortunately, I was working so much, it was falling apart on the inside. And it seemed like every single week a new warning sign would appear on the dashboard. And what do you normally do, Tom, when the warning signs appear on the dashboard?
Ignore it.
Yeah. So, and that's what I did. I just kept ignoring it and ignoring it.
Is this a metaphor for your own life?
This is a metaphor for my own life, because I had this feeling, you know what? I mean, I've done as much as I can now. I have this dream of being a speaker. I've got this dream of being a success coach, doing what I'm doing now, but I'm working 7 days a week and I don't have any time freedom. So, I'm kind of driving into work every morning, and I'm feeling like this, and all these warning signs are coming up, and I'm ignoring them, and I'm saying the usual, I'll do it next week, until one morning I'm driving in at the busiest time, 9 a.m. I'm late as always, and I'm driving towards one of the busiest roundabouts in Dublin. I'm seeing all the warning signs coming up. I'm ignoring those. And suddenly I'm speeding towards this roundabout. And
roundabout's a circle for us, I guess, like in D.C.
Exactly. Yeah. This is Irish talk now. Yeah. And hey, I mean, I literally, went to put my foot on the brake, and the brakes fail.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm speeding towards this roundabout. Now, again, I don't know if you've been ever in a situation, Tom, where it's literally a life-threatening situation, but
not in a car.
What you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I'm literally saying to myself, oh man, this sucks. What a dumb way to go. I mean, that's the only, this is lame. And what do you do? What do you do in those times? Well, all I could do was say, well, if this is it, and let go. Not at a steering wheel now, but I just said, okay, if it's to be, it's to be. And, it was like one of those movies, Tom, if the heavens had opened up and I heard the sound of hallelujah, it was like one of those moments where something else stepped in. I don't know what you want to call that. For me, it's divine intervention. Mm-hmm. It's almost like this thing has your back. But, for a few seconds, which was a miracle, there was no cars coming around that roundabout, and I spun around that roundabout and I didn't hit anybody. And then the car just literally came to a stop naturally a few hundred meters down the road. I pulled into the hard shoulder, and you know what? I just burst out crying. And it was a combination. It was a combination of relief. I'm still alive, and anger, Tom, because I literally was saying to myself, wow, why is this happening to me? And I had this voice come up inside me saying, well, because it is you. You're not listening to the signs, and that was a turning point. I had to literally look at my whole life and say, you know what, I've been promised myself I'm going to do this, and I had no choice but to do it. So I set things into motion where I branched out on my own, and that's another story.
Wow. Now, did those cars not have emergency brakes? I can't help but think about that.
This Alfa Romeo Sprint, Tom, in Ireland, right, which is an Italian car, which is kind of like a sunny country. Ireland, not so sunny. So, your worst nightmare. So,
okay.
It wasn't a smart move. Not a smart move.
So you made this decision, but did you just quit that day, or did you save up money? And what did you do to make that transition?
Yeah, it took another few months, but eventually I did leave, and I can't say I saved money, Tom, because I did what I advise people not to do. There was a certain point where I just literally jumped into the unknown, and I wouldn't recommend people do that, because I'd say, hey, you know what, I think you should have enough money to cover yourself, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I was great. I'd made some money, but I was great at spending it. And some of you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I found myself in no man's land for the next few months when I quit. And it was scary, right? It was one of the scariest times of my life, because I'd let go of that security trapeze, that I'd called a job. And I don't know why this happens, but it does, and I've heard it happen with other people. But other things, so many other things came to a head at that same time. I was in a 10-year-old relationship with the most wonderful woman, and that all ended. And,
Oh, geez.
it was like, man, what is happening? So what followed was a difficult time for me, and because I had to find myself, and um, I had no list. I had no contacts because people who I thought were my friends, well, I mean, I just lost contact with a lot of the business contacts that I had back then. So I was starting from scratch all over again. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation.
Yeah, sure do.
And, but I did have a vision, and I did believe in my message. And I can remember this so clearly, Tom. I'm in the place that I was renting at the time, and I'm standing in the driveway of that place, and I can feel, it's as if it happened yesterday. All the gravel beneath me, and it's a beautiful view overlooking the sea. But I'm in a bit of a mess, and it was like a download of sorts. I just had this. It was like a message, epiphany, whatever you want to call it, and it said something along the lines of, I'm not sure why all this is happening at once, but one thing I know for sure, everything happens for a reason. A great good's going to come from this, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to turn things around. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I'll bounce back bigger and better than ever. The best has still yet to come. And, I went in there and I wrote it into my journal and everything. The very next day, Tom, out of the blue, right, I get a call from one of my last remaining friends, colleagues from before, and they said, you know what, Dave, I want you to speak at my upcoming event. It's only a small personal development yoga group, but I believe in your message. I've heard you speak before, and I think you'd be great.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, often life throws you a bone, right? And then immediately there's this battle inside. I have the excitement on one hand coming up, and I got all these fears coming up on the other side of things, saying, holy crap, and this is exciting, but what if I suck? And what if and again, the science shows that, right, that as soon as you get excited about a goal, you get an opportunity, that in a nanosecond, you're going to get the feel good feelings, the dopamine release, but you're also going to get the fear center called the amygdala, literally release the stress chemicals, the cortisol and everything. So I had this battle immediately, and for me, Tom, it's like these kind of brain characters inside of my head. I often describe them like that. You ever have a voice, an inner voice talking you out of your greatness and, causing you to doubt yourself? Well, that was there. So it was kind of like this thing in my head going, danger, danger, you must not take this opportunity. We are on this course for mediocrity. I have no idea why that voice is German, but for some reason, that was mine, okay? But man, I just had to trust. I just had to do what I knew best, hold on to that vision. I started to mentally rehearse showing up at this event and, delivering, knocking it out of the park and delivering this great presentation that wowed people. And it was certainly interesting what happened next, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
I show up, right? And my friend, her name is Kate, who organized the event, says, come on in. And there wasn't a small group there, Tom. There was 500 freaking people in the audience. I'm going, look, there's all these people here. You said it was a small group. She said, look, Dave, I knew you wouldn't show up if I said it was a small group. I said, I can't do this, Kate. I can't. She said, it's too late. I've already paid you. You've no choice. So I tell you, Tom, I ran into the toilet. I locked myself in there. I'm trying to do my Tony Robbins power move. I can do this. And I'm that 7-year-old kid again. I'm sweating profusely. My heart is beating. Did you ever think you got rid of something only to realize it's alive and kicking? Well, that was exactly what happened. And I couldn't shake this thing off. All the techniques that I had, I couldn't shake this off because there was so much dependent on it, right? So there I am. I make my way backstage. I'm a complete wreck. I'm just a mess. And suddenly the MC for the event is starts to describe who I am, and Literally the MC saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, wow, have we got a treat for you tonight. Dave OConnor is going to blow your mind. He is an inspirational speaker. He's going to regale you with his stories. He'll make you laugh. He'll make you cry. He's going to blow your mind, and he's going to take your game to a whole new level." And all the time, I'm backstage going, oh, shit, oh, God. So I get up on the stage, and I'm that 7-year-old kid. I can feel the lights beaming down on me. My heart is beating. I'm like the deer caught in the headlights again. It seemed like an eternity, I can tell you. And I'll tell you what happens next in a few minutes. But hey, I mean, it wasn't what you'd expect.
You didn't. Well, at least you showed up on the stage. I'm thinking all this big introduction, and there's Dave running out the back door.
I know, but when the stakes are so high, Tom, that I had made this leap from that old life that was security, and I'd made this leap into the unknown because I'd thought about it for years, and now here is an opportunity, and it looked like I had failed before I begun. So what happened then was, what seemed like an eternity, I literally, again, it was like, because I'd mentally rehearsed it and I'd see all of this stuff that I knew to do suddenly kicked in. It was like in a split second, right? And I tell you what happened. I caught the eye of this young girl. She couldn't have been more than 16, 17, sitting in the front row of the audience, right? It was like a split second. My eyes connected with her eyes. I could see that there was fear in her eyes, but I could also see there was hope there. Mm-hmm. And in that split second, it just dawned on me, you know what? My God, I'm making this about me. This is not about me. This is about that young girl. This is about this audience, and I'm here to serve. And as soon as I focused away from my self-concerns and how I was doing, and I focused outward on serving their needs, then it was like that 7-year-old vanished, and the real me came forward. And it was fascinating, Tom, because everything that I'd seen in my visualization, everything that I'd practiced, it was exactly how I'd seen it in my mind. I was connecting with people. I was literally could watch people and see the stress melting away. At one point, it was like I'd hopped out of my body and I was observing myself giving the speech. It was that amazing. And at the end of it, wow, I mean, I just had I had a standing O, which I'd seen in my mind. I felt like I was completely on purpose, that I had done exactly what I came here to do. And everybody came rushing up and they were saying, that was amazing. That was inspiring. Exactly what I'd seen in my visualization and my meditation. And I had a couple of people saying, hey, you know what? I speak at this, or I run this organization. I'd love you to speak at my group. And it was just one of those surreal magic moments. And I guess the message for me, Tom, was that, when you just trust and you realize that, you know what, this thing called life or the universe, whatever you want to call that, wants you to be here, you got to trust the wisdom of that. There's an order and a sequence of things. And, if you really focus on meeting people's needs, if you don't make it about you, then you decrease your self-doubt and anxiety. Whereas if you make it about you, you increase your self-doubt and your anxiety, and I just kind of felt that I was there to be of service, to add value and to move people to the next level. And it was one of those magic moments in life, really. And it was a big turning point for me.
Well, it sounds like you had a standing orgasm, not a standing ovation.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the male version of When Harry Met Sally.
Did this carry over to the speeches after that, where the crazy anxiety was gone all of a sudden, or it was still troublesome before speeches that you did after this?
Yeah, you know what? It was a gradual process where that became weaker over time, I would say.
Right.
Where, it's almost like it's like an addiction of some kind, right? It's almost like it's there to tempt you, but after a while you realize, you know what? Thanks for sharing. Like the amygdala guy would come out and go, and I go, you know what? I mean, I'm on a mission here and I have no time for drama and I've certainly no time for this. So after a while, the fear would vanish, and you'd still get the nervous excitement, but that's a good thing.
Yeah. So, you know what I think you just did to us? You did
What I do?
you did a mind story on
Ah,
us.
you know what? I think I did.
I think you did. And so tell us about Mind Story. What is that? That's a company, or that's what you teach? What is that?
Yeah, that's the company that I run with my wonderful partner Carla Rieger, and like I said earlier, we teach people to overcome their stuff, and of course that comes in so many different forms, right? And as we have this framework, and we help people to put a positive message out in the world, to overcome their limiting stories. That, again, the research, and you mentioned it there, Tom, I mean, it can go all the way back to, when you're a child, you have no kind of, defense against these things. But I always say to people, and this is what we say in Mind Story, there's 4 real things you need to know. Like if you're thinking about leaving your job and starting a business, if you're wanting to be a better speaker, if you want to be a better salesperson, if you want to up your game, then first of all, you've got to get clarity, right? So whenever I coach people, the first thing I always ask them is, in the immortal words of the Spice Girls, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. And they go, I'll tell you. No, they don't. But they normally will tell me something that maybe is living someone else's dream. So you got to get them clear on their own story and what they want to achieve. And then, the second part of that is commitment. You got to be prepared to go all out. You got to be prepared to work your ass off, but also to have the right mindset, which we give people the mindset tools to be able to keep their head in the game, because you have to have that momentum initially. And then you got to have the courage, of course. You got to have that courage to be bold, to go for it, to seize the moment, to put your message or your product out there into the world. And those inner voices of self-sabotage will come up, but you've got to do what I suggested there, push them aside, and you've got to just feel that fear and even use it as fuel, Tom, to go for it anyway. And then finally, I think you've got to be consistent. You've got to do it over and over and over again. And man, I mean, I know you talk about that, and most people give up. Too readily. But I had an online program, Tom. I taught this program live, and I put it online, and I wanted to get it out there for ages. And I just kept it on the shelf. It was gathering dust, and I was just afraid to put my message out there. But I decided, this has got to go out there. It was a program called 21 Days of Action. And we give that to people in our Mind Story course. But after just keeping on, there was times when I'd have one person on a webinar when I'm promoting this thing. Eventually, it just kicked in. It's like the universe, it conspires ultimately to bring about your goals, right? If you don't give up, if you have that clarity, if you have that consistency, you have that courage, you have that commitment. And that online program, Tom, made me hundreds of thousands of dollars, a $97 product, because I kept with it,
Right. Now, it sounds like one of the tools you used was visualization. And
yes.
I became a big believer in that. With years and years ago, I had a nightclub near a resort area in a lake, and everybody always wanted to take me down to the lake water skiing. And I couldn't even swim. I actually wore 2 life jackets in case one malfunctioned. It was that bad. I weighed 350 pounds, and they're trying to pull me up with the boat, and I'm getting an enema, the boat is not powerful enough to. Just pulling fish out of my butt later, and but at the last day of the season, I got up and went about a mile down the lake, and that was the last day. And so I went back to the bar, and over the course of the winter, I was visualizing that and kept thinking about that. And the next day, or not the next day, the next season or next summer, all the people came in from out of town and wanted to take me skiing again. I got up the first time and went 5 miles down the lake. And I hadn't done anything, any exercise, nothing, just visualized what that felt like that whole time. So I'm really a big proponent in that. But anyway, that's a powerful tool, is to visualize where you want to be. And that's, I guess that's what you did when you went from the worst to the best salesperson, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's like the magic formula, isn't it, Tom? It's the visualization plus the consistent and inspired action.
Hmm.
Often you can take action, but you don't have that mental component. And there are a lot of people working hard who don't get results. There's a lot of people who kind of just visualize and, they watch The Secret 77 times and are saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, why? How come my check hasn't kind of arrived?"
Right, right.
And haven't done any work. So it's the
They're
magical
dreamers. I
combination, I
call
think.
them
Yeah,
dreamers. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. It's
exactly.
not
Yeah,
a visualization.
yeah.
Now, anything crazy, bizarre happen in your business life?
Oh man, yeah, lots of bizarre things. Okay, here's the story that comes to mind. And again, it relates to the visualization as well. And this is back in 2004. I'm just getting going, and things are just kind of taking off in the speaking, and I'm starting to make some money. And I say to myself, wow, this stuff really works. This is awesome, I wonder what else I could apply it to. And I just kind of said something crazy to myself and started visualizing. I said, who would I most like to meet in the world? And I said to myself, well, I'd love to meet Richard Branson. It's just one of those things. I'd love to
Hmm.
meet Branson. And, so I started um, doing what I do every evening. I do this visualization. I write in my journal. I practice my gratitudes. And I just tag this little thing onto the end of it, Tom, where I just visualize myself sitting down with Richard Branson. We're shooting the breeze. We're like two long lost friends. I did that for about 2 weeks, and I had this feeling, you know what? That's it. It's out there. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, great. So it was about 6 weeks later. My then girlfriend came running into my office. She says, "Hey, guess what? Guess what? We've been invited to this exclusive Virgin party." And that was my only connection with
Hmm.
Richard Branson. I flew Virgin. I checked in and I said, "Okay, let's go." She said, "Branson's not going to be there." I said, "No, no, let's go." So we went a couple of weeks later, and it was a typical, UK overcast day. And this was it's just a wild kind of thing, because I had just read recently this Fortune magazine, and on it was a picture of Branson on Necker Island, and it said, "The man who is everything. He has the island, he has the business." And then, tongue in cheek, the journalist said, "Damn him." And I said, "Wow, I'd love to connect with him." And sure enough, Branson was there, right? But there was also hundreds and hundreds of other people there, and when we were it was made clear to us in no uncertain terms, nobody gets to talk to Branson.
Okay.
So my girlfriend, she looks at me and said, "You heard that, right?" And I kind of raised my eyes up and said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." um, but in my mind, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? This is a sign. So the day goes on, and sure enough, nobody was getting near this guy. He'd been whisked to one meeting to another. He had his entourage around him. He had his bodyguards around him. And so I said to myself, Tom, I said, you know what? It's not meant to be this time round, maybe another time. And then I just had this feeling, it was like this voice inside saying, "Hey, it ain't over till it's over." So there was 1 hour left in this event, and by the way, it was a lavish affair. There was rock bands playing and all that kind of stuff, And it was like another scene out of another movie, right? Where I had to do a double take because I looked and then I looked again, and then 20 feet away, there was Branson sitting eating with his plastic knife and fork, because there was all these kind of, little kind of outdoor eating areas, and there was no one around him. And I think to myself, huh? And my girlfriend looks at me and she says, "No, no, no." And I said, "You know what? One of Richard Branson's secrets is boldness. I happen to know this. I think he'd
Hmm.
be very disappointed if I didn't give this a shot." So I start to make my way towards him. And he's about 20 feet away, like I say. I take the first 5 steps, Tom. It was like a scene out of Mission Impossible. Like I'm literally, I'm just expecting that
Right,
these
right.
bodyguards are going to come out of nowhere and kind of take me away. Nobody comes. He doesn't see me. He's not coming up for air, this guy, right? He's hungry. I move closer, another 5 feet. And then again, the amygdala comes in. I said, "Look, thanks for sharing, but get the what out of here." And I'm 5 feet away, and I can literally hear the sound of the grass crunching beneath my feet. And again, he hasn't seen me. So I go, nothing, nothing from him. And I go again, louder. And he looks up. First of all, he slams his knife and fork on the table, and he looks up at me, right, with the most intense stare. If you ever thought someone had X-ray vision and they were scanning you, right, like the Terminator, I kind of was taken aback, and I kind of go sheepishly. Because it's one thing, Tom, right, to actually ask for something and visualize something, and then you're going to get the opportunity, right? But the question is whether you're going to seize the moment and jump in and actually do something with it, right? So this could be like a disaster, or it could be life-changing. So he looks at me again for what seems like an eternity. And I kind of go, Mr. Branson, big fan, just wondering if we could have a chat for a few minutes. Again, he's looking at me, and then I don't know if it was just that he saw something of me in him, but he lightened up and he said, "Sure, have a seat." And you know what, Tom? We sat and we chatted for 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It's exactly what I'd seen in my visualization, where we're like shooting the breeze, and he's saying, "Oh, you're a motivational speaker," and the fascinating thing about someone like that, Tom, the way you kind of meet certain kind of people that you're enamored with or are heroes of yours, and you hope that they're not, you hope that they're the hero you think they are.
Right.
And he was every bit like that. I was amazed. He was completely focused on me. It wasn't about him. He was telling me everything I wanted to know, telling me all his secrets. And at the end of it, he says, "Oh, and this motivational speaking, teach me something." And I did one of the exercises we do in Mind Story now. It wasn't called that back then, with him back then. And then he says, so can I keep in touch? Can I get your email address? I want to send you some of my best secrets. And I'm kind of thinking, oh yeah, I have to think about that. I said, yeah, thanks so much. And, it was one of those, again, moments that were life-changing, reaffirming everything that I was doing. And again, just like a scene from a movie, Tom, that was it. I mean, after we shook hands, we took pictures, and then his entourage comes and they whisk him off to his helicopter and he flies away. And that was how I met Branson.
Well,
how bizarre is that?
A lot of good lessons there too, because you visualized it, but then you took those 20 foot of steps to get there.
Yeah.
Right?
He always take, and that was one of his points, which is interesting. One of his books, which is obviously in line with what you do. You screw the commute. He's was screw it, just do it, right?
Yeah, right.
The journey of 1,000 steps begins with that first step. The interesting thing was, if you analyze my mindset there was a visualization, but then there was also that state of detachment. So I was okay if it happened, and then I was okay if it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And then I was looking for the opportunity to seize the moment and boldly jump in and go for it, which thankfully I did, despite my inner committee's attempts to, veer me off track.
Yeah, and that's also that attachment. You call it attachment. I call it negative selling to yourself. Like,
right? Yeah.
Like if you go in like desperate, they can smell that. So if you just don't care either way, then you can get the job done. So that's another. Exactly. Good lesson. Now, what do you like best about working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
That's a great question. What do I love working about myself? Well, the money is great because I get to keep a lot of it, and that gives me the time freedom. And for me, it's the time freedom, though. Like I said, I'm recording this from Hawaii. We're here for the winter. To be able to do what I'm doing with you here now, Tom, on the laptop, and a lot of my work and Carla's work and what we do in Mind Story is online. So that is, for me, the best. We can go and immerse ourselves in these cultures, enjoy just being there, but also do the work that we love. And, for me, it's the freedom of all of that.
All right, what's the worst part?
I think the worst part is that, in any business, it has its ups and downs. I mean, thank God it's going great right now. But it has its ups and downs. It means it's exciting when you're winning, but it sure sucks when you're on a downward spiral, right? So again, you're really having to practice what you preach, and you're really having to, hold on to that vision and do what you're telling people to do. So I think that's the worst part of it, really.
So how do people see some of your courses?
Well, I got a free gift that I'd like to extend just for your audience, Tom. I mentioned that 21-day audio program earlier. Well, I've created a 7-day, best of that course, free, for people listening to this podcast. So it's for anyone, if you know you're tired of stopping and starting in your business over and over again, if you struggle to get any kind of structure to your day, if you find yourself procrastinating on important tasks and projects, if you've got a fear of sales, change, failure, then if you'd like a fresh start and you want the latest mindset tools to use those fears as fuel, then I have this 7-day audio program that I think you'll find awesome.
Now, where do they find it?
Go to mindstoryacademy.com. So mindstoryacademy.com.
That's mind, MINDSTORY academy.com.
Yeah, /free -7-days.
And we'll have this in the show notes, free -7-days, and we'll have it in the show notes. So all they have to do is click on it. That's great. That's a super great bonus. Now, we've got to take a break from our sponsor, but when we come back, we are going to ask Dave, what's a typical day look like for him? I'm afraid to hear that answer. Because he's everywhere, and how he stays motivated. All right, folks, our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. It's a distance learning school which teaches legitimate techniques to make a great living, either working for someone else or starting your own online business, or both. You can check it out at imtcva.org. That's Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia.org. And I also don't want you to get robbed in you or your family's higher education quest. So be sure to watch the higher education webinar at screwthecommute.com. Just click on free webinars. You can also download the audio version of the webinar, just in case you want to check it out on the go. And keep in mind, just because it's in Virginia, it's distance learning. So you can be anywhere in the world and take classes, and it's asynchronous, which means you don't have to be there at a certain time. So it's really convenient to get this high-level training. Now, let's get back to our great guest today. It's Dave O'Connor. He travels the world speaking, and he's got online courses out the wazoo. I think that's an Irish term. I'm not sure.
That's an Irish term.
Is it an Irish term? Yeah, good. So tell us, what's a typical day look like for you, Dave? And what do you get up? Do you work out? What's that look like?
Absolutely. First thing in the morning, Tom, I'm practicing what I preach. I do my 30 to 40 minutes of inner work. So I'm doing the visualization. I'm enjoying the meditation. I'm listening to inspirational, motivational stuff. I love listening to your stuff, Tom. I've been a big fan for years, and I'm a personal development junkie. I'm writing in my journal, and I'm getting clear on the priority actions. I write those in my journal as well. So I have about 5 to 7 priority actions that will move the needle. These are the activities that are going to move everything that we want forward. So I'm not getting caught up in the being busy stuff.
Are you in the early bird or what?
Yeah, I mean, generally 6:30 to 7, but I tend to, again, go to sleep around 12:30.
Right,
so
yeah, you don't need a lot of sleep, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but I do believe that we have to get the quality of sleep is everything. So I think that even with the meditation and everything, that really helps, And then I do a workout. So I'm a big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I do the squats, So I love to go to the gym. I love to do those quick workouts. I feel the mind is key there as well, because I make sure I'm focusing on the muscle I'm working on.
That's
and
still
only
in the morning or afternoon or what?
That could, sometimes it's the morning, and sometimes it could be mid-morning or could be afternoon, depending on if I have a coaching client or not. Okay.
And you do a lot of traveling too, so you might have to do stuff in hotels and things to work out.
Yeah, well, when we travel, we always look for a place that, number one, has great internet, and it's a place where we got our own office space, so we prefer to kind of have more of a condo than a hotel. But yeah, I mean, we are always close to a gym as well,
right?
That's important because, again, I find that gives me energy. And after that morning routine, then I'll tend to only then, Tom, will I start to check email, right? And dive into what we need to do, what I need to do for the day. So that might be getting on with a coaching client. It might be doing a Facebook Live to one of the many audiences I have around the world. I might record some videos. I'll always take a few mind breaks during the day. So here now in Hawaii, twice a day at least, I'll go for a walk on the beach and really just be as mindful and present as I can, and that's awesome. And then we'll always have quality time, myself and Carla, in the evening. I refuse to stay online, for about 90 minutes before sleep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but it tends to be, action packed, but in a good way, Tom. I mean, it's so awesome just to have designed the lifestyle. I feel so grateful to be able to go anywhere in the world. I mean, we've been to places for 3 months like Bali or Thailand, and just doing this type of work.
It's a true lifestyle business for sure. Now, I actually live near the beach, but I avoid the beach because I get really upset when all the whaler ships go by and start throwing harpoons at me. so I don't go down there too much. But now, how do you stay motivated? You're a Mr. Motivator. How do you stay motivated?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Motivator. We do a lot of these mind story kind of blueprints for people, and people often say to me, "You've done thousands of these things. You not get bored?" And I said, honestly, no, because everyone's different. We try to change it up. If there's times when I kind of feel, I'm kind of feeling that I need more excitement and more motivation here, I always go back, Tom, to that time when I was struggling in life, and I have many of those times, as I'm sure many people in the audience have. Like for example, when I'd host a webinar when no one would show up in a webinar, when I was down and out, so down and out that I had to borrow my mum's credit card to book a flight from Ireland to the UK to hold my first seminar in the UK, and only one person showed up. Wow. I remember those times. So I go back there, and it keeps it real, really.
Oh, wow. So any parting thought for our people out there that want to get into a lifestyle business like yours? We call them screwballs, the people that listen to this. So,
yeah, hey, screwballs. Well, hey, you got to be, haven't you? I mean, you got to be to succeed. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to, as Jobs once said, be a little crazy. Here's the crazy ones. Yeah, here's a screwball. My message, I guess, would be, Tom, I see so many people dabbling, and you got to get serious. There's a certain point where this thing called self-sabotage, or these fears or self-doubts, they're not playing games. And when you think about, that the level of trickery that goes on, where we trick ourselves out of our greatness and talk ourselves out of our greatness, self-sabotage is playing to kill. It wants to kill our dreams. Self-sabotage wants to make sure that you don't secure your children's future, wants to make sure that your family don't eat. And my attitude is, well, you've got to be at least as committed to those self-sabotaging thoughts and fears are to ruining your life. You've got to be as committed to making your dream a reality. And then I would just say, Tom, just take it one step at a time. Take it one day at a time. It's important to have the big dreams, but it's perfectly okay to start small and to take that one step at a time, like we talked about earlier, and to start to get some momentum going in your business and your life.
Boy, those are great words, Dave. I know you've helped literally tens of thousands of people around the world with those kinds of words and your courses and so forth. And so I want to thank you for coming on today. I know we're going to hear from Carla about a month or so from now, and people will be looking forward to that. And also, what's the name of that freebie you gave them again?
Okay, so it's mindstoryacademy.com, and it's /free-7-days.
Right, and that's an audio course then, right?
That's an audio course.
Great, they can listen when they're on the run, when they're driving.
Exactly.
There's no meditation in it, right, where they're going to wreck their car?
There is, but there's a
warning,
it comes with a warning at the start. Okay, so there's going to be 7 days where you can literally put those on like you'd listen to this podcast and drive along, and then there's going to be some closed eye processes to go along with that, which you do not use for obvious reasons, like Tom just said, when you're driving your car.
well, I do have an instrument rating for flying an airplane where you can't see outside, so that's just like driving a car, isn't it, with your eyes closed into a roundabout?
Yeah, do not do my trick of hurtling towards the roundabout at high speed without the brakes.
I'm still going to call that Alfa Romeo company and say, you got to put emergency brakes in this car.
Now, Tom, brakes would be good for a start.
Yeah. Start with brakes and then emergency brakes. All right. Well, thanks so much, man. And for those of you listening, this has been episode 77 of Screw the Commute podcast. The show notes will be screwthecommute.com/77. And please go over to iTunes and leave us a review and a star rating. It really helps the show out. And we will see you all on the next episode.